All right, so we're diving deep today into FHIR servers. Are they really burning up the competition when it comes to healthcare data?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, we came across this article and it got us thinking.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much buzz about cloud solutions these days, but when you're dealing with something as sensitive as healthcare data,
You really got to make sure it's the right fit, not just jump on the bandwagon.
exactly. I mean, on the surface, FHIR servers sound amazing, right? Starting small, easy scaling, simplified management. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, it all sounds pretty tempting.
Right. But this article we found really made us stop and think. It digs into some of the potential downsides that people might not be considering.
The things that get glossed over in the sales pitch.
Exactly. And that's what we want to unpack today. So let's start with this whole no direct database access issue. Seems like a pretty big deal.
It is, and it can be a real headache for developers.
Yeah, how so?
Well, imagine this. You're used to having complete control over your data, right? Like, you can get under the hood and tinker with everything.
Right, like a mechanic?
Exactly. But with some of these cloud FHIR servers, it's more like you're driving a car where you can only use preset buttons.
I see what you mean. So you could do the basic stuff, but when you need to really customize things or fix a tricky problem,
You're kind of stuck.
and that lack of control can be a big problem, especially if something critical goes wrong. Like imagine there's a bug in the system, suddenly you're at the mercy of the cloud provider's timeline.
Exactly. And they might not always be moving at the pace you need, especially in healthcare where every minute counts.
No kidding. And speaking of time, what about the issue of support? I imagine that having your own in-house team could make a huge difference when you need something fixed ASAP.
Oh, absolutely. It's like if you have a dedicated mechanic on call, you get that problem fixed right away. Right.
Versus having to wait for someone to become available.
Yeah, exactly. With a cloud provider, you're one of many customers, all vying for their attention. So you might not always get that immediate personalized support that you need.
That's a great point. Now, this is something that really surprised me when I read the article. Server location. It seems like even though we talk about the cloud as this, like, ethereal thing, data actually has to live somewhere physically, which can get kind of messy.
Oh, yeah. The cloud doesn't mean your data is just floating around out there.
Right. And the article mentions this crazy anecdote about someone being forced to host their FHIR server in Sweden simply because there wasn't any capacity available anywhere else in the EU at that time.
It really highlights how the whole cloud concept can be a bit misleading. It's not this boundless, borderless thing. And for healthcare providers, that can be a big deal because data residency regulations are super strict and they vary all over the place.
So even if you love everything else about a cloud FHIR server, you might hit a roadblock if you can't locate the server where you need it to be.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we're seeing some healthcare providers pushing back against this whole cloud-first mentality, one size doesn't fit all.
Right. And that brings us to another point. The article raises the cost of scaling. Initially, it seems like cloud solutions offer amazing scalability. But is it really that simple?
Well, it depends. Scaling up quickly can get pricey. It's kind of like starting out with a small car that's perfect for, just you running around.
Your daily commute.
Exactly. But then all of a sudden you need to haul like a whole soccer team, all their equipment, snacks, everything.
Yeah, suddenly that small car doesn't cut it.
Not at all. And renting a bigger vehicle every time you need extra space, well, that adds up.
Right, so that initial easy scaling might not actually be so easy or cost effective as your needs change. There's definitely a lot more to it than meets the eye. And speaking of hype, the article also touches on this idea of cloud-native applications, like the latest buzzword, right?
Totally. And it's important to remember that cloud native is still relatively new and we're still figuring out how it actually works in real life.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in all the hype.
Definitely. But the bottom line is this. When it comes to managing sensitive health data, we need to be smart and make decisions based on facts, not just buzzwords.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of this deep dive, right? To uncover those less talked about aspects of cloud FHIR servers. They may seem like a simple solution, but there's actually a lot more to consider.
Right, because ultimately it's about finding the best way to manage healthcare data securely, reliably, and in a way that truly works for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, for all of you listening out there, here's a question to ponder. What are your non-negotiables when it comes to managing healthcare data?
Is it top-notch security? Is it having complete control over your data? Is it the ability to be super flexible and adapt to changing needs?
Once you've got those priorities figured out, you can determine if a Cloud FHIR server truly aligns with those values.
Or if maybe, just maybe, there's a different solution out there that's a better fit for you.
And that's what it's all about, right? Finding the best tool for the job.
Absolutely.
Well, that about wraps it up for our deep dive on Cloud FHIR servers.
Hope you found it insightful.
As always, thanks for joining us.
And until next time,